Cable Bahamas Limited became a VAT registrant and is mandated to charge and collect VAT on behalf of the government of the Bahamas. Effective January 1st, 2015, VAT will be added at a rate of 7.5% on all your rev services. As a result, VAT will be included on all your statements beginning January 2015, and you will be required to pay your bill in full inclusive of the VAT. To learn more about the inclusion of VAT on your rev services, visit cablebahamas.com/VAT.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into NB12 Weekend, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, the police commissioner addresses the discipline of a police officer following last year's Jailhouse wedding. The Free National Movement suggests government may delay the gender equality referendum once again. The DPM says the PLP's new generation leaders need to know their place. Government praising the success of its Visa Cash Card social assistance program, plus how to care for your furry friends. I'm Paige McCartney, and we've got those stories and more straight ahead on NB12 Weekend. Police Commissioner Allison Greenslade once again suggesting that the discipline of a senior officer who played a role in facilitating a controversial marriage at Central Police Station last year is out of his hands. Greenslade was asked to respond to comments attributed to Minister of National Security Dr. Bernard Nottage. In the Tribune, the newspaper reported that Nottage said, quote, "As far as I'm aware, the Royal Bahamas Police Force has disciplinary procedures and has a disciplinary process that does not involve civilian authority and certainly does not involve me, so you'd have to get further clarification from the commissioner," end quote. Last March, a man arrested on drug charges married his fiancée at the station. According to well-placed sources, the marriage happened after the groom's family could not get him police bail. According to those sources, the groom was married in an office of the station with the permission from a senior policeman. The groom, 35-year-old Kendrick Tinker of Grand Bahama, was arrested the day before the wedding was scheduled to take place. The commissioner had previously said that if the matter was up to him, the officer would have been fired. All that Greenslade said when asked yesterday was that he would not say anything disrespectful to Nottage.
I'd like to invite the public and all of you to consider that legislation on the books in the Bahamas are very clear. And if you were to pick up what is referred to as the Police Force Act, and you were to read it, look at the ancillary legislation that would pertain, then any well-meaning citizen who cared to pay attention will note that the way we deal with a constable, that is a contracted officer is the word, that is a person with no rank, 2 stripes or 3 stripes, falls firmly within the purview of the commissioner, and the way we deal with officers that wear a brown uniform or khaki uniform is a different procedure.
When the matter arose last April, Greenslade said that the paperwork was on its way to the Cabinet Secretary and would follow a procedural route through the Governor General and the Public Service Commission. At the time, he recommended charges against the Assistant Superintendent involved in the matter.
Let me be clear, because I was told offline that I may not have been clear. There was no hesitation on my part when the matter was reported to me. I was quick to make a public pronouncement to the country as to how I felt about it and the fact that it never should have happened. And I directed swift action. File was prepared, all of the necessary papers were prepared, and we followed, certainly this commissioner, all of the procedures that should have been followed. And so again, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm not prepared to offer any other comments to cause any disrespect or to create the perception of disrespect.
Greenslade previously called the marriage a dastardly ceremony which violated the police force's policies and defied his instructions that officers maintain public confidence in police. In other news tonight, the deputy leader of the Free National Movement has accused the government of deliberately delaying meetings with the opposition on gender equality bills so it can blame F&M MPs if this year's gender vote fails. Opposition MPs Peter Turnquest and Richard Lightbourne say they had expected to meet with the Constitutional Commission last year to discuss their concerns over the 2 bills, but they haven't heard anything from the Commission in the weeks that have followed. Bonnie Toot reports.
Weeks after the Constitutional Commission was expected to meet with opposition MPs, FNM Deputy Leader Peter Turnquest is accusing the government of intentionally delaying this process so it can blame the FNM if that referendum fails. The commission was expected to meet with opposition MPs who have voiced concerns over the constitutional amendment bills last year. However, Turnquest told NB12 they have heard nothing from the commission for weeks. He questioned whether that was deliberate.
It says to me that the government is not taking this seriously, that they keep pushing this back and trying to blame the opposition for the delay. But they have not met their commitment to meet with the opposition to determine what the issues are and see how we can resolve them. Well, at this point, I have to conclude that it is deliberate, that they have not come to have those discussions because they want an excuse to be able to say it's the opposition why we can't bring the resolution or the referendum. And that is unfortunate because the questions need to be asked and they deserve an answer.
Central Grand Bahama MP Nico Grant and St. Anne's MP Hubert Chipman have said they are not prepared to support the fourth bill unless government adds the words "at birth" to the question. That bill seeks to end discrimination based on sex. Montague MP Richard Lightbourne says he too is concerned about that bill, but asserted the government is holding up the process, not the opposition.
The fact that we haven't met concerns me, particularly as the government seems to take the point of trying to suggest that it's the opposition to blame for us not having arrived at any consensus with regard to the amendments.
Constitutional Commission Chairman Sean McQueenie told the Nassau Guardian recently the commission would meet with FNM MPs by next week. Turnquest says the commission should also meet with PLP MPs like Greg Moss, who threatened to campaign against two of the bills if they are passed in the House of Assembly as is.
Before they even meet with the opposition, they need to meet amongst themselves and come to a conclusion as to their position, because it's not just the opposition that may have some questions. There are members on their own side that have questions, and so I think together, if they are serious, they will sit down with the opposition and their own members, come to a conclusion and bring this matter to a head. Certainly blaming the opposition for the delay is not on.
Prime Minister Perry Christie has said he hopes to have a referendum on gender equality by the end of June. However, Turnquest says at the rate government is going, he doubts that will happen.
I really don't give serious consideration to government's proposed dates for anything, so I don't look upon June as being written in stone. So I really am not going to give it too much thought, because I would not be surprised if they'll find some excuse to change it by the time June comes.
The constitutional amendment bills on gender equality have yet to be passed in the House of Assembly. Prime Minister Christie has said repeatedly government hopes to get unanimity on the issue of gender equality. The four bills must be approved by at least 3/4 of the House and Senate. The referendum has been delayed 4 times. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Tude.
Well, following 4 delays in holding a referendum on gender equality, Democratic National Alliance leader Granville McCartney says he seriously doubts Prime Minister Perry Christie will live up to his promise to hold the gender vote by the end of June.
This government has not lived up to one time period to date since they've been in government for almost 3 years. I don't see this one being any different.
Christie has said he wants unanimity on the gender equality issue. Well, McCartney says if that's the case, the government should get it right and address the opposition's concerns about the 4th constitutional amendment bill.
Number 4 has to be a bit more tweaked a bit more to be more firm. The wording "at birth" ought to be put in there.
The DNA leader warned that governments that lose referenda usually lose the next general election. He was referring to the Free National Movement, which lost the 2002 general election months after the failed constitutional referendum.
And as we get closer to an election, it doesn't look good for any government to go and bring a referendum and lose it. We see what has happened in the past with regards to governments when they lose referendums. They usually, we've seen in the past that they get a good licking at the polls as well.
And despite the Progressive Liberal Party's decision not to suspend Fort Charlotte Member of Parliament Dr. Andre Rollins for his scathing attack on Prime Minister Perry Christie in Parliament last year, Deputy Prime Minister Philip Davis suggested the party's New Generation team must learn to follow party protocol and keep their issues in-house.
Protocol dictates that if we are on the same team, that we ought to work out our challenges together. This is a democracy, and as a democracy, it behooves us to persuade people to our way of thinking, right? And at the very least, what you expect to emerge from such discussions is an agreement to disagree.
The disciplinary committee of the PLP's National General Council recommended that Rollins be suspended for no less than 6 months. However, the council decided to hand down no punishment at all when its members met at PLP headquarters on Thursday. Rollins was fired as Gaming Board chairman last August after he said the country needs new leadership. When asked to publicly apologize to Christie last year, he refused. We asked Davis if he is disappointed by outspoken members of the PLP's New Generation team.
I think it's all about the zealousness of youth and attempting for each of these individuals to find their own niche in the political landscape. Now, how that fits at the end of the day in that landscape would be found, I guess, in the results that is yet to come.